A good horror game is one that successfully creates a sense of fear, tension, and unease in the player. And in order to create these elements, it's important for the creators to carefully manage their resources to create the perfect atmosphere, characters, and stories. Games like Five Nights at Freddy's and Poppy's Playtime are in the good category of horror games because they manage to grab players' attention through the use of these different elements. A good horror game should have a well-crafted atmosphere that immerses the player in the game world. This can be achieved through elements such as sound effects, lighting, and environment design. Just look at the worlds of the first Five Nights at Freddy's and the Chapter 1 of Poppy's Playtime. The static noise, the buzzing of lights, the creepy ambiance coupled with the slight unease of being watched just gets into the player's skin. Not to mention the music that plays once you encounter the threat really shoots your blood pressure to sky-high levels. Because you know that this is now a life or death situation. And if you die, you're going to have to do all of this segment of the game again, not out of annoyance, but out of the fear of having to relive that experience again. These games have threats that are frightening and challenging to overcome. You have to carefully manage your resources so as to not run out of them and expose yourself to the external threat, and have to make use of your reflexes in stress-inducing and anxiety situations, where the margins of error are the highest, such as making split-second decisions to choose the correct path to take while running from the threat, where I think Poppy Playtime has done an awesome job of in both chapters 1 and 2.
We're going to play one last game! It's called Hide and Seek! 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2...
Perhaps what made these games the most entertaining were their stories that gave rise to multiple story-explained channels, with Matpat making his whole personality about being in the shoes of Purple Guy. The stories of both the games were endearing, as they are left for the players to decide as to what is happening in the games, with Five Nights at Freddy's being about a serial killer killing children and hiding their bodies inside of animatronics, and Poppy Playtimes being about a group of scientists experimenting on human subjects to create the perfect toy, and how everything went wrong. All these aspects were never directly shoved down to the players' mouths, but instead they gradually had to discover these findings. While playing the games, which gave the player more agency and control over their character's actions, this allowed the players to feel more invested in the game and increase the tension and fear they experienced, as well as increasing the replayability of the game, where they could approach challenges in different ways each time. Garten of Banban tries to cover all of these factors but fails in most aspects. In Part 1, it managed to follow all of the principles of a good horror game with an uncomfortable atmosphere. Great narrative, and an even greater threat in the game, but in the coming games it lacked most of these elements. Honestly speaking, the only thing that I liked about the first two parts was the story, and even though it is good, it just feels rushed. The characters do not feel threatening, they feel really goofy. I mean, just look at the boss fights and chase sequences from the third game.
First, I was confused by how everything was going perfectly in your favor, despite you never being here before. And then it hit me. Someone has to have been guiding you. And as with most things, I was right. You did have help. Your friend here has helped me tremendously. Thanks to him, I bore witness to very vital information. What information, you ask? Well, when my turn comes, I will simply prevent myself from turning into what he turned into. You can run away, but the smell of your pancreas will always draw me to you. Stop it, you two.
There is very less replayability of the game, as I'm pretty sure most people just played it once, as there's not interesting stuff to find after replaying it. Most of the game segments have been reused from the past chapters, which explains why the creators have been able to pump out each game so quickly, and the quality of each part decreases because of this. They should take a step back and give proper time to make the game stand out more. Otherwise, it's just a parody of mascot horror games.